Alright, Ulm turned 74. We had some throne claims. The Outer Throne, this was by Yomi. And then this was Niflheim's throne, that was claimed by Helheim. Continuing to bring in summons, Flame Spirit, good Firecaster, Call of the Winds, more Patrollers, Astral Window using our little stone sphere to check stuff out. I believe that's why we see this battle here. We did some searching, we didn't find anything. Another Prophet coming out, and then yeah, let's take a look at some battles. I think this is the most important battle, and it's nice that we had our stone sphere to observe it. So Helheim is attacking Marverni here, and yeah, I mean, this is some stuff. There's quite a few casters in here, so he's got a bunch of these astral support mages. They might do body ethereal, all that kind of good stuff, or they might communion up. We got some gems here on these druids. Also, these guys are probably going to be communion mastering quite a few gems, actually. I feel like, yeah, more than we've been seeing. And yeah, just a few boars. So, I mean, these Marverni troops aren't great, but there's definitely enough mages here that they could do some nasty stuff, and they have gems. And then from Helheim, a pretty normal looking force, not really much in the way of troops, pretty much just great eagles who look like they're spread out on probably guard commander. So he's probably just going to cast at him. Maybe a couple of these guys, yeah, might go in. These, what are these, Van Jarls probably? Yeah. So probably going to send a few Van Jarls in as thugs, maybe. Looks like most of them are not kitted. So yeah, maybe just going to hit them with lightning. I don't know. Let's see. But not a lot in the way of troops. So yeah, it looks like a communion went down over here. Yep. Okay. So let's see. Some lightning, wailing winds, of course. Yeah, that's going to be really nasty. Really got to remember that, myself included. Every time that you're going up against somebody that can, with air, death, crosspath, I mean, wailing winds is going to come out basically every time. And at morale 10, these guys kind of might as well not even be here. And it's going to be a problem. Okay, so we had Howl come out. Yeah, wolves. That's not bad. Light of the Northern Star, also from this communion. It's just going to boost all astral mages on the battlefield. Okay, I think that was Doom. Who cast Doom? Okay, yeah, that's also coming out from Marverni. So yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, this is a pretty elite force, right? This is a lot of commanders. Then, now they're all cursed. I think is there a Queen of Elemental Air in here? No. So that's nice that she didn't get cursed, but still, it always sucks to have a bunch of mages get cursed. So it's not going to matter too much for this battle, I think. Unless these mages do something else real exciting. Power of the Spheres, buffing themselves up a little bit. Okay, that looks like maybe mass protection, which is good. We've talked about that. It's battlefield friendly battlefield wide protection buff. So yeah, I think normally these guys, yeah, have no protection whatsoever. And now they have 10, which, is yeah, it's not really gonna matter here, I think, just because of Wailing Winds. Normally, it'd be a good play. Yeah, and I think these guys, the plan is to just hang out and wait for Wailing Winds to just do all the work. I mean, they can cast lightning at anybody that comes out, and whatever. I think that was a Swarm, or maybe Creeping Doom, possibly. Yeah, Creeping Doom. It's just Swarm, but more. Which is good, more chaff, more bugs. But yeah, you can see here's a guy whose morale has failed, and morale 16, that's not bad. I mean, it's good. That's good morale. It's not great, but I'm actually surprised that yeah, these guys are lasting as long as they have. A few of these guys have gone berserk. I think that's a spell. Berserking your guys is definitely I think there's a battlefield-wide berserk spell. Or at least berserk's friendly units. In fact, yeah, a lot of these guys are getting berserked. Well, maybe not a lot, but some of them, and that's definitely good. That's one answer, kind of, to Wailing Winds. The problem with doing the battlefield-wide berserk is it berserks your mages as well. So these dudes in robes are gonna run in, and these particular guys are gonna try to hit guys with twigs. Which is probably not what you want. your expensive mages to be doing. So it's challenging for sure. Like Wailing Winds is definitely kind of an impressive spell. I think it's something in vanilla that you have to learn to play around. And like I'm still learning, so Undead I think are another good way. Elemental Royalty I think have perfect morale. I think I'm still not 100% sure on the morale system. I should look that up, but I believe 30 counts as perfect, although sometimes you see higher, like 50 is like unbreakable. But it's very rare to see 30's route. So yeah, this is a caster that's been transformed, so that's cool. And he's got a Ring of Regeneration, kind of fatigued out, but he's got this Dragon Fire, ammunition 4. So anyway, like yeah, not actually sure. I guess probably just he went through his script. But yeah, part of the problem with these monsters, they just don't have a lot of slots. That's one of the reasons that like people aren't super into. Not that this is like a god chassis, but the expander chassis, the monsters tend to only have 2 slots. So like they're good, but you can't like quite turn them into as effective super combatants. So like yeah, you can see even with the Ring of Regeneration and everything, which 10 gem item, like it's expensive and decent hit point pool. Going up against some casters, like it's just rough. So yeah, I'm really actually shocked at like how long these guys are hanging out. Some of these guys, yeah, their morale's failed, but like they're fatigued out and they're communion slaves, so they can't retreat. And probably some of the masters have no, this guy hasn't. Not sure why he's not. Maybe he's just trapped. He's probably trapped by the bodyguards from the communion slaves. That's hilarious. And I guess the bodyguards, I feel like because it looks like most of the rest of the troops have retreated, but the bodyguards, I have definitely seen bodyguards route. I'm pretty sure that they can route without the commander routing, but they do seem to stick around longer, or maybe they're just getting lucky. So anyway, these guys are just hanging out. You can see though, right, like okay, so like these are pretty much all who's left, right, all the guys that got berserked. So like this is actually like pretty cool from Marverni here. I'd say this is a much better effort than just throwing all the boars like usual, and actually like getting some kills. Like these eagles are great siege strength, right? Maybe the best in the game, like pretty high, pretty up there. And like their skills are decent, and they do a lot of damage, and they have 2 attacks. They're size 6, so you can only fit 1 in a square, so they kind of have some attack density issues, and like they don't have a lot of protection. They have a lot of hit points. They're not actually great in combat, basically. Which is why they're just on guard commander. Like he doesn't want the eagles really to be fighting. That what was that, Shockwave? Yeah, Shockwave is really good. It's a short range spell. It's just like all when like 6 lightning bolts come down together. But mostly these guys are just hammering them with just regular old lightning. Which yeah, it's a good spell. And I mean like these guys like yeah. But still, like they've managed to kill off some eagles. I don't know if they got any commanders. It's a pretty tall order to get these Van Jarls. Yeah, it looks like at least a couple of them. Ooh, that looks like a Van Jarl that went down. I think this is a Prophet. Yeah, Prophets are dangerous. But still, like, yeah, So Helheim takes this fort, but definitely I would say like a better showing, especially like, Wailing Winds is a rough spell. So I think that was a good use of Berserk there by Marverni. But he does lose Ubar, which is, a capital, so that hurts. So yeah, he lost the Chimera with some gear, a Jade Sorceress, probably kind of meh. 1 Van Jarl, maybe had a little gear, but most of them were ungeared. And then like, yeah, 6th grade Eagles, like that does hurt a little bit. They're air gems to summon in. They're not cheap, but I mean, he still has plenty more, only like 9 casualties. And then of course, Marverni loses everything. So, yeah, not a bad defense overall, but like, yeah, this doesn't look good. I'd say like this definitely, it looks like things are turning against Marverni, which is unfortunate because, yeah, I'm not really going to be able to help him out. And then let's see, I think this one was kind of interesting. This is just some raids. So yes, it's just the boars, and yeah, I kept talking about like, oh yeah, the boars are probably pretty cheap. They are free more or less. I think these guys, this is like a great boar versus a great boar. Wait, here we go. I don't know. This is a named great boar. Anyway, this is slightly different, but yeah, these just summon them. I think that they just have a chance of summoning like every month when they're in friendly dominion. So I don't know how much it costs him to bring these like summoners in. But he hasn't been losing any of the summoners, so like all these boars have like actually just basically been free. I mean, the only thing they cost is like time. And then I think this is our mummy. So how do a bunch of boars do against a mummy? Slightly kitted mummy who can mistform himself, right? Because he used to be a Van Jarl, a former Van Jarl. And he's got his disease clouds. It's probably good that he's just sending in, the boars that are actually just free, basically. He's getting pushed around a bunch. That's his shield bringing the lightning in. And, every time he attacks a boar, they die. But I do think they are getting some damage on him. Yeah. Because, he's only size 2, right? So, that's the thing. These boars, have been doing really poorly. But there's a reason that Marvernia is, still around and, pretty big. This is, especially, too, because they're larger than normal boars, so they can trample more stuff. Has Helheim been making it look easy? Yeah, but, this demonstrates, right? The Holy Avenger, that hurts. But, not that, that mummy was particularly amazing or anything, but it's, 13, free boars, wipe some stuff out, take a province. These boars can work in the right situation, definitely. they're not going to win you in a late game scenario, especially, in a game this large, right? You're going to have to transition into something. But, yeah, I think they've been getting a poor showing based on what I've been seeing, and I think earlier on they're probably really strong, and then I think this was just a raid against PD, which Marvernia did win. So they're not out, but it's starting to look kind of bad for Marvernia. I'd say it's turning against them. Then we had some unexpected events. This is really nice, especially, Misfortune. And this is actually a decent province. 400% tax income. And, of course, losing some province income, naturally. Brigands. It's fine. We got some patrollers now, so we'll get there eventually. And then, People's Deathmatch, which, sadly, I didn't participate in. I maybe try to do a better job. I don't know. It's tough, I think, just committing a warrior chief or something with a great sword of sharpness, because, I'm not, this is the AI, right? They send in, so this is People's Deathmatch, right? So you get a slave collar, and you can't do any spell casting. So, of course, naturally, the AI sends a spellcaster. This is probably a player who just sent in, it feeble minds them. That's why they can't do any spell casting. So it always shows that they have an affliction. He just sent a scout. Which is, about as low commitment as you can get. And turns out a lizard shaman can beat a scout to death. So scouts are not great in combat. And then I think this is now the AI up against the AI. So let's see. The other AI also sent a caster. Genius. Yep. So, it's just, let's see. This guy, is he a demon? No, he's not a demon, but he's very strong, and he actually has a mace. What does this guy have? Oh, yeah, he also has a mace. So, 2 casters with maces. Let's go. Yeah, so there you go. Lanka. Their mages can beat, lizard shamans just beating on each other with maces. Who knew? And then these are actually some players, so maybe it'd be a little more interesting. Yeah, this is a good choice. Technically is a caster, but he's a prophet and almost fully kitted. Slave collar does take a spot. This is actually kind of a risk. This is, I'm pretty sure this is a player. They must have not realized that, oh wait, no, I think they can still use their Mind Blast. Nice. And I guess, penetration, I think, helps for Mind Blast. Magic resistance negates. So I'm guessing even though it's not a spell, right? And there you go. So no, this player definitely thought this through. This is a good kit. This guy's got a lot of kit, but wow, magic resistance only 12. Interesting. So he's in a drain scale. Oh, he's feeble-minded. That's rough. I didn't know that feeble-minded subtracted so much from your, because I was going to say that's really low magic resistance for one of these Van Jarls or Van Herses. This is actually pretty effective for this people, because you're guaranteed to be going up against guys that are feeble-minded. Although he does have a limited amount of ammunition, right? Only 10, and doesn't do a ton of damage. And this guy's got a ring of regeneration. So like, okay, he doesn't have a lot of hit points, right? But it's sort of like, okay, he mind blasts and stuns him, right? But see, like +2, +2, +2. So it's like, he's regenerating 2 and he's only taking 1. Is he bleeding? I think he might be bleeding. Oh yeah, profuse bleeding. That's rough. Although it looks like the profuse bleeding is only doing like 1 a turn, so the regeneration is canceling it. And then like, yeah, he runs out of ammunition. And I mean, this is just some sort of like weird fish creature. He does have some life drains, but like attack 9. Now that this guy's woken up, like, forget it. Defense 32. So, yeah, he takes care of the weird fish thing, no problem. He's probably, scarred for life with whatever sort of psychic images he had to endure. But, maybe it'll be worth it. And then I think he can probably take on the AI's caster here. Yeah, no problem. Not sure what happens to his gear, because usually I think... he gets the champion's Gladys, but like his or Gladius, his kit was full, right? So I'm not sure if he like drops the spear in the lab, or like if you just lose it. So yeah, I'm not actually sure what happens on that. But anyway, so it's kind of interesting. Just the joys of vanilla arena. And then we lose a scout. We catch a scout, an scout, and then we breached the Niflheim fort, so we'll be able to storm, and we killed some brigands, all that good stuff. So what's going on? Yeah, kind of late game-ish. Plenty of arrows. So probably most importantly, we're going to be storming Niflheim. Let's take a quick look at what we're doing here. So I think, we're just going to send these Vine Ogres in first, unbuffed probably. This guy is fairly geared out. We're going to send him in. He will help us kill Jarls. And then, oops. Then, this guy will also kind of, hopefully, he's got the shock shield, so that's going to help. The sword that he has doesn't do a ton of damage, but it should be significant enough that he'll also help us kill any Jarls. I'm not sure why this guy's so far forward. Oh, probably like Maws the Earth, help clear the walls and like get any defenders coming out. This is probably like Shadow Blast, like same kind of thing. Also probably Shadow Blast. So like, just trying to clear the walls or anybody that, clear the gap. Send these guys in, make sure that they get in there, prevent the computer from jamming the gap with, a bunch of garbage. These are the gargoyle squads, getting buffed up in all the normal ways. These guys are just back here to catch flyers, and, really they're kind of just more siege strength, so they're just going to hang back. And then, like, this is just kind of our main, it's just Vine Ogres, but we've got, like, a ton of, like, chiefs with great swords and stuff mixed in. I don't think there's a ton in here. In fact, it might be empty. Or like maybe like a Jarl, and it's the computer, so like we should be okay. I think we also, so just one gargoyle squad. This is a squad of maidens, so yeah, I think this is gonna be more than enough. Of course the gargoyles will fly in, and that should help interrupt any casters and everything. So yeah, not anticipating a lot of problems. Not that things never go to plan, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And then, just trying to like shift forces up, right? So it kind of looks like the main axis of attack is probably going to be coming from this absolutely massive army that also like has his god in, and like these are like some summoned casters, and he's got some of those like summoned sacreds, gelatinous cubes. Like, this is a really serious army. So, it has to cross the river here because it hasn't frozen yet. I think he has Heat Dominion, so, like, this river will remain a boundary for both of us, really, other than any, like, flyers, swimmers, etc. So he's probably going to be coming across this bridge. I don't think I'm going to be able to shift enough stuff. Like, ideally, we would meet him here, assuming that we had a large enough army that we felt could beat this. Maybe if I massed everything, we could, but obviously like a lot of stuff is tied up over here. We're still shifting like mechanical men over. I think they're going to be in this province this turn, so like bringing a ton of those guys up, but we're not quite ready yet, and I don't think we're going to be ready. The attack, assuming he holds to the nap, it can't come this coming turn, but it'll be one turn afterwards. So we just won't, like, we'll probably be able to get the mechanical men either to this fort or this fort, but I don't think we'll actually be able to mass an army that I would feel confident using to try to stop this. So I think the plan right now is like we're going to have to try to hold these forts, right, and play the defense in the south, but in the north, This is a significantly less scary army. I mean, it's still a big army, right? And it's got plenty. We've seen it in action, right? It's been taking Lanka out. So, yeah, it's nothing to scoff at. And he may have other stuff. I am trying to get some more scouts in to see, like, okay, how much, are there reinforcements on the way? But this is an area, right? Like, and this is Lanka's capital. So there's a capital right here. And then I think this is, Ermor's capital, right? So it's like, he just took this land. This is a less scary army. There's 2 capitals relatively close, right? If we could, grab all the... I mean, this is a big ask, right? But I think, like, this is, like, a realistic war goal, right? Like, it's like maybe if things don't go so hot, we'll just pick up, like, maybe like this, right? So we pick up a capital and a couple forts, and sort of extend our borders just a little bit. If things go really well, then it's like we still use the river as a border and we pick up 2 capitals and quite a few provinces. But I think, like, in the north is, like, realistically where we're going to be able to make some progress and some gains. And, we're going to be playing defense in the south. I mean, there is, like, Abyssio's capital right here. So, I mean, and, like, we could, cut all this off potentially. But it is somewhat constrained, right, by the river. The river already makes, like, kind of a nice boundary. And, like, I'm not, like... I don't think I'm going to be able to eat all of right? Like, is larger than me, I think, at least by a little bit. Certainly by capitals. Although, actually, if we take Niflheim, we might actually be equal in terms of capitals. But, I mean, I'm just getting... Although he just took Lanka. So, a relatively fair war. Probably one of the players that, like, I'm still, like, closest in size with. So, it's not impossible that things go in our favor, and we're able to pick up some territory, but I think just completely conquering would be really tough, and probably not the right move anyway, even if I could pull that off, right? Because again, like, it's starting to look like, so this is Ubar, right? Like, here's another group of Great Eagles for sieging. Like, things are like, remember, there used to be a bunch of battles on top of Arcocephali, and, like, now, Marvernia has just lost one of the capitals that they had taken, right? And then it also looks like Helheim is starting to push in from the north. Now, again, like, here's an absolutely massive army from Marvernia, mainly Great Boars and Long Deads, so, like, mostly just chaff. There's a lot of chaff, and, like, some strong casters. Like, this is a summoned caster. So Marvernia is by no means out, and, of course, like, Yomi is still... I actually think Yomi might have... made some sort of deal with Helheim. I actually haven't seen a lot of provinces trade hands, and I haven't really seen any fights with them. And I mean, that may just be because of my scouting, but I'm getting this sense that, like, Yomi might have sued for peace, which, that's dangerous, right? But at the same time, like, I don't want to fight Helheim. So I definitely get where Yomi's coming from if that's the case, or, it might just be a failure of scouting on my part. And it's starting to look like Pangaea has completely collapsed, realistically. Like, I don't think we actually know exactly where Pangaea's capital is yet. And so it looks like they were fairly big. And, like, they still have, like, some isolated provinces, and forts and stuff out here. But, like, it looks like Helheim is starting to raid, like, pretty deep. This did not used to be, and they're, like, sieging a fort somewhat deep now. So, and then is over here. So, like, right, like, Pangaea can't extend, and then we know that Yomi is somewhat up here. So it's looking like Pangaea is probably done, which is not good, for anybody, but Helheim. But anyway, that's... We have other problems, right? So anyway, that's why it's like, ideally we give a bloody nose, maybe pick up some territory, and then sue for peace. Because I just don't think, like, we were just gonna let Helheim. We need to jump in. We need to convince other people to jump in on Helheim, I think, because it's not going well for the coalition over here against them. So anyway. In terms of trying to pick up territory, right, this is, we've talked about these. We're bringing our wyverns up. We've got our vine ogres, some gargoyles, a little bit of, like, terracotta chaff. Not much, really, in the way of human troops currently up here, and then just a grab bag of casters. So, this is... We'll hopefully reinforce this a bit. I don't know if this is going to be enough stuff to take this army on. Like, we'll see. and then we're pretty thin in the south, right? Like, so we have some casters, right? We're bringing in some foul vapors, which is probably not going to be great against because they can foul vapors and they have a ton of nature magic. So I'd be shocked if he wasn't doing, what is it? Not poison ward, Serpent's Blessing, the battlefield wide poison protection. So very unlikely that we're going to be able to foul vapors our way out of this, but having a decent nature caster, like, we're just bringing all kinds of stuff up, so she'll probably do something different, and you never know, right? Because again, you may not expect if you're a nation that wouldn't normally do foul vapors and people haven't caught you doing that, sometimes you can surprise them like once, because there's always competition for what spells you're going to be casting. So it's not impossible that we could catch her out with that, but unlikely. And then this is basically just our research park. We are bringing up, one of our fire mage summons, who's a good caster, but you can see it's pretty much birds and research nerds. So this is not good. This will not stop this army, not even close. So we're bringing up, like I said, these mechanical men, one of our wraith lords, and more casters, better casters, but yeah, we need to finish this assault, and these guys aren't going to get over in time, so I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. Ideally, we use this army to attack in the north, but we may not have that luxury, depending on, and these guys are half giants, so their siege strength is pretty good because they have higher strength than normal. And so, while we have some units in place here, I actually got these guys with the intention of siege strength, and this is not bad, but of course, it's more or less halved for defense. Yeah, because this is siege strength. Actually, I think you can, if you look at the fort, so if you bring up the fort, you can actually see your actual, current fort siege defense is only 34. This is not high. So, and then, we just have regular walls here. So, this fort's going to get cracked really quick. This fort is probably even worse off. 28. So, we're not going to be able to stop. We're not going to be able to sit in our fort with this army sitting on top. And he's going to one-turn crack these forts. Mechanical men, they're cool. We'll see. I mean, I'm bringing a few human troops up and stuff, but I think there's a good chance that we're not going to be able to go on the offensive initially. And of course, we set up a bunch of traps, to catch. Oops, now he's moving there. To catch a bunch of Macone's raiders, and he avoided all of them. He stopped raiding out, probably anticipating that some traps would be set up. And I mean, he's busy. He has another enemy. He has other places to raid. So anyway, none of our traps for him worked out. And so we're just doing a little bit of just absolute low commitment counter raiding. So yeah, we'll see. I think that more or less covers it. We kind of talked about research last turn, and not much has changed there. So yeah, that's turn 74. All right, Ulm, turn 75. We finished research in enchantment 7. It was mostly for Serpent's Blessing, I believe, and then now we're continuing our march to alteration 9 for those battlefield-wide buffs. Continuing our summoning, of course, a little more than normal. We're right on the eve of war here, so gargoyles, wyverns, some more terracotta warriors, starting to bring some bears in. I think this is mostly just for siege strength and siege defense strength. Bears are not great. Definitely, I think some people consider them a waste of nature gems, and they could be right. So we'll see how the bears do. And then we've got no site searching because we're about to go to war, and some battles. So I think this is just our raid. Minimal PD works out. That's why you want to do low commitment raiding, because we waste to send a huge army when you can just send a couple skeletons. And then this was a little sad. So Marverni's capital was locked down. I think this is probably just their starting PD. He may have added to it a little bit. This looks at least pretty close to the starting PD. But yeah, it's kind of sad that it didn't get supported. This is we've seen these Ivy Kings. We've probably seen this Ivy King before. And I mean, just unsupported PD. We've talked about it before. The more I've played, the more it's if you're at war, and you're getting attacked, you probably should be patrolling with something on your forts like probably every turn. Certainly, if you've got like enemies bordering your forts. I mean, unless you don't care that they're going to get locked down. But, usually you don't want your fort to get locked down. And then, of course, when you have a big PD investment like this, it's sad to just see it get absolutely slaughtered for free, basically. So anyway, Marvani's capital is locked down, which is sad. And then there was an assault by against, AI Lanka. And I don't think this is particularly interesting other than the fact that this is our future. I don't think there's very little in here, and I think there's this guy, same kit, which I think the AI has probably set up for him, and he's survived for a long time, but has not done a whole lot. So anyway, we've seen this army from before, right? He's got these cubes who are not scary generally because they're so slow. But I do think we've seen him use mass flight before, and then they become significantly more scary. So yeah, he's doing all the normal Earth stuff: Strength of Giants, Legions of Steel, Panic. I don't know if there's enough here to trigger gem usage, so we may not be seeing like his full script. And he's got some thugs here. Yeah, these Gurus are actually like not terrible. Their skills are like okay. So that's a bit rough, but being half giants, like they have more HP than normal, so they're a little easy to like. And this guy's really more of a counter thug, which is smart. Always good to have some great swords of sharpness mixed in, as we have definitely seen. So like, yeah, there's nothing, Blade Wind, nothing too crazy in this army. Although I'm not seeing any gems. But he could have gems like hiding on a scout. So this may not be everything that this army is capable of. But I think in this, if this is what it's going to go up against, I think our northern army can beat this, which is good. So yeah, we'll see. And then we had our assault at Niflheim, also going up against the AI. I don't think there's a whole lot. There's a little bit in here, not too much. I think this is, this is their hero. Just kitted out for casting, and then like, yeah, what is he casting? Probably like Wave Warriors on himself, right? Oh no, he didn't do it on himself, so he did cast Wave Warriors. Yeah, I think here it is. He got it on the trolls. So anyway, yeah, here go our fine ogres, right? They're headed in. Yeah, we got Howl, so this is definitely enough to trigger gem usage. We are going through our full script. Gargoyles go in, they got the weapons of sharpness. Yeah, this guy doesn't have any regeneration because he didn't bother blessing himself, so he's not getting the advantage of his bless. He has no regen gear on him, so Gargoyles should take him out pretty quick. They got cold resistance on him, so that's a good upgrade. So they're not like immediately fatiguing out. There's that Shadow Blast. It is really tough to hit the guys on the wall and like get like projectile spells through the wall. So yeah, that was maybe a mistake. But yeah, overall like we outnumbered them greatly, and it's the AI. So yeah, we were able to win this I think pretty handily. Yeah, no significant losses. So yeah, that's good. And we got a little bit of gear, so that's nice. So it was actually pretty nice. So yeah, that's a double elimination again, kind of odd, but Niflheim and Lanka were eliminated. I think we're out of AIs, or Satis might be AI right now. And then let's see, I don't think this was, yeah. We can take a quick look. This is like one of Helheim's larger armies, and this looks like probably just a raiding squad. I'm a little sad that there's some sacreds in here that aren't going to get blessed, but it wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, we've definitely seen this army before with like this mercenary group and the Eater of the Dead, and yeah, remains a scary army. So yeah, he probably just got unlucky, trying to raid around, and Helheim correctly guessed where he was going to go. And then let's see, some events, some turmoil, somebody crappy took over the province, failed experiment, of course. They like burned some goat's blood, which I guess is not great. So some people got cursed and etc. Some patrolling, and yeah, those are the last turns, so attack orders can be issued. The war will start. I am assuming that, you don't mass 460 units here on the border and end your nap and then not attack. So I will be attacking immediately, and like pretty much just some raiding. We have like our our possibly overkitted Spectre and some Axe Warriors, like just kind of doing this. This is okay. It's going to lock down a fort, hopefully, and we will get to draw income off of it because it's connected to our province. This rating is not as great. It will give us like a little more sight, because you can kind of get some information on bordering provinces to provinces that you own, but it won't be connected, and we're not going to be able to hold it. So this is really just more to annoy him, and kind of get some sight on like what's down here. Like, does he have another army coming in? Doesn't look like it. He does have some elemental royalty, so this is one of the Queens of Water, which is pretty good for a land nation to get that. I think you have to summon them. I know one of them can't come onto land, so I'm not sure if like he managed to get an underwater province at some point, I'm not sure. But anyway, he has Queen of Elemental Water, so that's a little scary. But I'm not seeing like an army coming up. But we really don't. We have poor coverage. we lost it. I think this is us losing a scout here. Yeah. So even worse coverage. So anyway, it's going to help get us a little sight. And of course we do have a scout here, but he's headed over to see maybe I actually don't know about this scouting move, but anyway, he's going to go over there and check some stuff out. And then let's see, what do we have in here? So more human troops. Like, we're bringing in some Axe Warriors that we're probably planning on using to raid with, and that's our mechanical men will be arriving. So I mean, this is not it's not 460 units and his god. I think our god is over here though, so we might see some god versus god action. So yeah, this is still not enough stuff. We are trying to do some more summoning. Let's see, we're doing any summoning here? No, we are pretty low on gems, of course, as just how I play. And we don't have any of the gem globals, but we are bringing in a few more terracotta soldiers, see, I don't know, we'll see. And then of course this is the army that we just saw in action against Lanka, and there's something that's like somewhat close in size. I mean, smaller it looks like, but right behind it, and it also has more elemental royalty. So this is a king of elemental earth. We're just really high level earth casters, and they're decent super combatants too. I think one of them regenerates. They have a lot of hit points. They have pretty good protection. So yeah, that could be a little rough. So we're gonna send our birds out to do a little raiding, because why not? They're not really gonna be able to patrol or anything, because we're gonna be fighting, so they're not great in combat. But we've got to double. This is 2 castings of the Call of the Winds, so you can normally use this as a remote attack spell. In this case, we're just making an attack. So hopefully 80 birds will be enough to overwhelm his defenses. And if this shaman hangs out, because the birds go in right away, it's not impossible. The shamans are good casters, but also kind of expensive and I think slow to recruit. So it'd be kind of nice to pick him off. So if he decides to site search with him, he might. I know you can thug with the shamans. Most of Ur's casters, you can thug with. I don't think most people usually do. But anyway, if he's thugged out, we're probably just going to lose a bunch of birds. But we might pick up a shaman, and this province is connected, so that's nice. And will also, again, help give us a little more sight deeper into his territory. We do have a scout here at least, just hanging out. So it doesn't look like there's, too much else coming in the north. But yeah, this is going to be a problem. I'm not really sure what we're going to do about this. We may have to divert this northern army. There may be no offensive component to this war. But, of course, we did take Niflheim. So this army is freed up. Unfortunately, so it's breaking up a little bit. I think we're sending, basically each component as fast as it can go. So this is one of our kind of super combatant guys that's can make it to this throne, but it's hard to move through swamps. So the majority of the stuff isn't really fast enough. Maybe if we broke off, the gargoyles can fly. So yeah, maybe you should have broken off the gargoyles. We don't actually have any flying commanders here. That is one nice thing about Call of the Winds. These guys are like flying commanders. Their leadership is not great, but like they're still decent at like moving flying units around. So maybe should have like broken off one of these bird commanders, sent them over, grab the gargoyles, so I could fly the gargoyles over faster at least. But we're taking the slow route. So it's gonna be a little while before this gets over. And honestly, like, yeah, this is not 460 units. How many? What do we got? We got 117, right? So it's like, combined with like, what is this? Like 70 mechanical men and maybe like 60 axe warriors. Like, we're still gonna be outnumbered. So like realistically, trying to meet an army of this size, like in the field, if they outnumber you like 2 or 3 to 1, it's a really good way for you to get flanked and for them to get guys like around, like back among your mages, like quickly. So, being out, you never want to be outnumbered, but especially not out in a field battle. So we may just try to, take an assault, basically. It's like, he's probably going to pick one of these forts to siege. And like hopefully we'll be able to stuff the right one. We're focusing on this one because this is a more valuable province, and it also it has a ton of connections. So like this is a good province to take. But I mean, this is a really valuable province too. I mean, the income is pretty high because it has this gold deposit and has a ton of sites. So they're kind of both valuable provinces. So it's going to be hard, he's going to hit this first, but then where he goes from there, like, I don't know. This mountain pass, sadly, because it's summer, and we don't really have this under our dominion, it's not closed, I don't think. So he will be able to move through this, whereas, like, these ones, because they're in cold, you can't move through these without mountain survival. So that would actually be a case where, like, maybe we should have built a temple down here and, gotten our dominion in it. That said, like, mechanical men and stuff, they don't have mountain survival, right? So again, the whole thing about, like, our summons don't get to take advantage of, like, Ulm's, national strengths. But, like, all of our casters, have mountain survival. So us being able to move through these, province links and, this giant 460 unit army, not being able to move through these province links would be nice. Now that said, of course, like, he does have a way in through this fort down here. But, it's like if he had to take this link, then he'd have to move here first, and we would see that, and then we'd know it's like, okay, he's definitely coming to this fort, right? Versus now, like, he can move here, which is, I think, the move he's going to make. You never know. I mean, he could come down this way, but it's, right, like, why threaten one fort when you could threaten 2 forts, right? And then this way, I don't know where he's going to go, and, I can't stuff the right fort necessarily, because obviously once he's sitting on top of a fort, you can magic phase units in. So if you have like gateway or something like that, there's some spells that can actually like teleport units around. But I don't have access to a ton of those. A lot of them, there aren't a lot of them, and probably I don't want to say best. The most straightforward one maybe is a gateway, because you just target one of your labs. There's like a way to do it with nature, but you have to go to a forest. It's like fairy paths or something, and I think some of your guys can get lost or killed in the fairy realm. Like, a lot of them are kind of dangerous. So like yeah, and then of course you don't always end up with a fairy path one. You don't always end up where you're aiming. Like, especially I think it's if there's bordering forests, so you have a chance of ending up like in a different forest. And of course this isn't a forest anyway. So like realistically, that's probably the one I could cast, although it's probably, I don't even know if I have the research. Anyway, I don't have a way to like magic phase a bunch of units in currently. So once the fort is under siege, if you're trying to bring other units in, you have to take a field battle, which of course just puts us back at square one. We don't want to take a field battle. So we're just gonna try to guess, and like hopefully he's gonna come after this and like try to defend both of these forts as well as we can. But realistically, if this army moves on top of this fort, we're just gonna have to try to evacuate all these guys out. and we're gonna have to give up this fort realistically, and then kind of reassess. Because from there, like he may try to push on. Now he can't move through this, I don't think. So he would have to come here. Of course, he would still be able to threaten 2 forts. So yeah, but by that point we'd be able to transfer this army down, and maybe take a field battle. But anyway, yeah, so we'll see. That's part of why this army is not moving out yet. Because kind of need to see, like, we don't have enough down south here to stop this. Honestly, like, maybe should have already started moving this army down south. Just having him wait is not ideal. But also kind of want to see what he does up north, right? Like, at the same time, like, our capital is not that far away. And there are a bunch of forts that, like, we do care about over here. This is where we're getting, like, our crystal Amazons from, like this fort here. And we don't really have, like, anything, like, once this moves out, like, there isn't really a whole lot up here to stop, even these, like, medium-sized armies. So, kind of forced into, at least feeling like being forced into waiting to see, to react to his moves, which is not really where you want to be. And then, of course, we are starting to summon some stuff in, not bringing it forward, which maybe is a mistake. Like, I am still a little bit worried. Like, Helheim does seem to kind of be rolling over. And I mean, Marverni still has a lot of stuff, but, it's like, I kind of snagged Niflheim from Helheim, right? Like, yeah, technically it was, Niflheim's, the AI Niflheim's, but he was sieging it. So he's probably not thrilled about this. And of course, like, I'm just moving, like, pretty much everything. I'm just a little bit afraid of leaving this whole side of the map, like, completely undefended. Like, there's a throne here. Obviously, this is a really important province for me. So to leave it, like, completely undefended is a little freaky, considering that we maybe just antagonized Helheim a little bit. He hasn't messaged me. We didn't talk about this at all, one way or the other. So yeah, I don't know. We don't have a nap. At no point have we ever had a nap. So, like, yeah, he could attack at any time. So maybe should have moved these up. I mean, we are going to need, I think, we're going to need a lot to stop but yeah, at the same time, it's like you don't want to leave yourself completely defenseless. So we'll see. And, that's kind of pretty limited rating. We don't, again, because we're really trying to mass everything into our armies to stop this. So that is kind of limiting, like, the amount of raiders that we have and can use. We are starting to get more Wraith Lords. Like, yeah, we're calling another Wraith Lord in. We brought another one in this turn. So, like, yeah, he's headed out. Not sure exactly where he's going. But I mean, definitely towards So I mean, that's good. That'll definitely increase our raiding potential. We'll be able to raid more provinces as we bring more of those guys out. But right now, like, raiding is kind of limited, and, like, this isn't really going to do much to like, it's not going to hurt his economy or anything like that in any really significant way. It'd be nice, of course, if anytime you see a giant army like this, Doomstack, if you will, you can send your Doomstack against it as well, which is fun. Honestly, it's great to see, like, just giant armies and the madness of it all clashing. And then it is a valid way to wipe out enemy Doomstacks, especially if you think that, like, your troops are better, or, like, you think your spells are going to push things in your favor. It's not a bad way to eliminate enemy Doomstacks, but probably the most efficient way is to use, like, some sort of battlefield wipe, right? So if you can find, like, some, weakness, or, like, a super combatant that's designed to take the army out. Now, I mean, he probably has, like, he's been good about mixing in, like, counter thugs and guys with, like, great swords of sharpness, and it's really hard to use a super combatant against a lot of mages that have a lot of research, and he does, right? Like, he's got plenty of research, he's got plenty of mages in his armies, and it's just a really tall order, right? Because mages are really dangerous, and so I certainly don't think, like, like, trying to use a Wraith Lord against, like, an army like this, I think forget it. it might be possible, but I certainly didn't feel comfortable enough, trying to do that. I think it'd be very, very challenging. So, something like hitting it with Wrathful Skies or something like that, a wipe is probably a better way to defeat a Doomstack, because, anytime you slam your army in, you're probably going to take quite a few casualties realistically, and, that's never good. So, when you see a giant army like this, you want to think like, okay, like how do I just use spells, right, to destroy this as cheaply as possible? We don't have access to a ton of battlefield wipes, but we do have access to Earthquake, and we have it researched. And we have a caster, probably a couple of casters. Yeah, here's another. Like, we could boost this guy up. Like, we have a couple possible Earthquake casters, and Earthquakes are actually more effective in caves. You take extra damage from Earthquake in a cave. Everybody does. Now, Earthquake is a wipe that hits everyone, and Mechanical Men, they have high protection, which is good against Earthquakes, but they have low hit points, which is not great. So it's going to be a little tricky to use. I don't think we're going to be able to use Earthquake with our armies, but that's okay, because Earthquake is, unlike a lot of wipes, right, all the damage happens at once. So, we don't have to like sit on the battlefield. Something like, Foul Vapors or Wrathful Skies, you need to extend the battle out a long time, so that it has a chance to work. Earthquake is not like that. Now, that said, he's a nation of half giants, so it's good that he's not giants, right? Because Earthquake doesn't deal a lot of damage. So we're gonna need more than one Earthquake, definitely. Maybe like 3, 3 or 4 maybe. He does have a ton of these Long Dead Horsemen, who have pretty low hit points. Now, unfortunately, they have decent defense, and defense negates damage from Earthquake, so they might be a little tough. But any of them that do get hit with Earthquake are probably going to die, and they're pretty nasty. So even if we could just eliminate, and he has a lot of them, right? So it's mainly these guards, but they're the second largest component, of his army. So if we could just wipe out just all the Long Dead Horsemen, that would go a long way to making this army a lot less scary. So starting to think about, trying to cheese this essentially with an Earthquake. So we'll see. It would be best to get it in the cave, but he may not move into the cave, because certainly, Earthquake just got used. I think he saw it. I think he was one of the players that was discussing it, in chat. Maybe not, but I'd be surprised if he didn't. We've been catching his scouts like in this province and like all over, so probably he saw that. So like Earthquake is probably on his mind, and he seems like a competent player, so he's gonna know that like early age Alm, like Earth is one of their things. So Earthquake is definitely on the table. So he may not go into the cave for that reason. But anyway, starting to think that like, okay, maybe that's a way that we could try to like even the odds, and how to beat this without like just having to sacrifice like all of our troops. Because he definitely, even aside from this 400, we're outnumbered here right now. Definitely. So yeah, we'll see. And I think most of the rest of this is, just again trying to shift units forward. We talked about research. Yeah, that's the same. And then yeah, we've talked about the summoning. In terms of, we haven't talked about equipment in a while. Not a whole lot to talk about. Still some of these rings left over, a few of these plates left over. Definitely useful. Great Swords of Sharpness, of course. Some boosters. These are really effective items. Still, like, not really sure. It just blocks like a bunch of attacks. I think it's like 50% chance of blocking an incoming attack, including spells. So yeah, really good item. A little pricey. It is 10 gems. So yeah, still trying to figure out like how exactly I want to kit the Wraith Lords. How much kit, what kind of kit. So yeah, we'll see. Definitely gonna experiment. Starting to make some of these Amulet of the Giants, because I am pretty worried about those cubes just swallowing the Wraith Lords. I definitely think that would be a good way for him to, wipe out the Wraith Lords, which would be sad. So this is going to enlarge him from size 2 to 3, and then it stacks with the spell enlarge. So we can use our Nature Casters to get our Wraith Lords up to size 4, and they won't be able to be eaten by those cubes anymore. So we'll see how much of a concern that is, but it is something I'm worried about. Let's see, what in terms of kitting, what do we have on this guy? So yeah, using the levitation, sort of a poor man's movement item, so he can fly. Amulet of Anti-Magic, never a bad call. I think particularly on these guys, it's more important. Their base magic resistance is not bad, but it's not great. 21 still is, totally, you can beat that, but it is a lot harder. Because they're immortal, spells are definitely one of the best ways. So like if you soul slay an immortal unit with the spell soul slay, they don't come back, right? And that's a magic resistance check. And then another common way to get rid of them is you can charm any of the spells that are gonna take control of a unit. Obviously, right, they didn't die, so they're not gonna resurrect, you're not gonna get them back. So those are the two main ways that I know of off the top of my head to get rid of immortal units, permanently. And all of those, well, I don't know at all, most of those spells certainly are magic resistance checks. So I think, for immortal units, raising your again, it's always good to raise your magic resistance, but particularly for immortals, I think it's important. So that's probably a good call. The Moonblade, we've talked about before. I am seeing, this elemental royalty. Let's see, is he still here? Wherever he went. Here he is, yeah. And they're magic beings. I think, this guy could be coming out as a super combatant, and we'll need an answer to that. And, Moonblades will help a lot against that. So not the worst kit, kind of light investment wherever he went, but that's fine, right? That's not necessarily a problem. You don't want to overkit, and I'm definitely experimenting, so we're gonna see a lot of different kits, I think, on these guys. So yeah, anyway, just a little bit of discussion about the magic items, and I think that covers turn 75.